O Mother Nui, stretch high above this valley. Your starry body is our glory. Then see the hawk of yonder Rahur quit, his fiery splendor, oh so mighty. He brings a light for all our weary souls. He makes the broken spirit whole.
So picture the creator of the universe. You're probably picturing a being that cares about you, right? Like maybe it listens to your thoughts, or I don't know, at least it has some kind of plan for humanity.
Yeah, like a loving father figure or something.
Exactly. But the stack of ancient esoteric texts and the philosophical research we're diving into today, well, they argue the exact opposite. They describe an ultimate source of reality that literally does not care if you exist.
It really doesn't.
Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is to decode what these sources call the monad, which is essentially the ultimate source code of existence.
Right.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the monad isn't a loving creator, right? It's just this absolute unity with zero interest in our tiny human drama.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is that the monad completely ignores human constructs. Things like prayer or pity or morality. It views all of those as just rules made for safety.
Like a user interface we built just to feel secure in a chaotic world.
Exactly. Think of the monad like an operating system running quietly in the background. It doesn't have human emotions because, well, it predates them. It just processes the data of reality.
So it has no moral agenda at all.
None. An operating system doesn't judge the files you save, right? And this absolute neutrality, it extends to how it handles things we see as massive opposites.
Right, looking at the text here, it treats individual identity like a small wave on a very deep and quiet sea. And the really jarring idea for me is that the monad treats light and dark as the exact same power.
Which is really hard for us to grasp.
It is, because we're so conditioned to see light as good and dark as evil. But here it's like ones and zeros in binary code. You can't have a functioning program with just ones.
Right, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, the texts argue that darkness isn't inherently evil. It's not malam in se.
Oh, okay.
It's simply the principle of change. It's the dimension of time required to actually perceive the light. They are two halves of the exact same coin.
Like a blank white screen where you literally need dark pixels to see an image.
Precisely. They are necessary, equal manifestations.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. If the monad is this perfect, unified, motionless blank screen, how do we get a universe full of complex, chaotic things? The texts describe this massive rupture, like a big explosion that shattered that original piece.
Right, because to put it in computing terms, a perfectly unified system with no variables can't process anything new. To experience itself, the unity had to divide.
Yeah, and it shot out myriads of what the text calls scintillas, like these divine sparks or raw packets of source code. And here is where the transmigration journey kicks in.
Because they don't just magically become humans.
No, they have to compile data from the ground up. The sources say they spend ages as granite just to learn physical structure, then move into moss to learn biological growth, and slowly work their way up the evolutionary chain through primates.
It's a slow accumulation of complexity. Every time the spark moves, it builds a thicker, more intricate layer of individual identity around itself.
Well, wait, let me stop you there, because my human ego is jumping to a very specific conclusion. If we evolved from rocks to moss to highly self-aware primates, aren't we the pinnacle of existence? I mean, we must be winning the game.
You'd naturally assume that, yeah. But esoterically, humans are actually considered the nadir.
The nadir, wait, really, like the lowest point?
The absolute bottom of the spiritual ladder, yeah.
Yeah.
Because of our intense individuality, we are heavily firewalled off from that unified source.
Oh, wow. Because our complex user interface isolates us.
Exactly. Being hyper-aware of yourself as a separate entity means you are currently the furthest distance possible from the original piece of the monad.
Which raises the question, so what does this all mean? If we are stuck at the bottom, heavily firewalled, where does this programming ultimately lead?
This raises an important question about our ultimate fate. The universe runs on what the texts call an unfeeling cold law.
A cold law.
Yeah, an automated universal mechanism. It moves stars and cells with the same absolute lack of sentimentality. And it drives everything toward an identity burn.
Identity burn. That sounds terrifying.
It means eventually that thick shell of ego must burn away, allowing the isolated spark to melt back into the total power of the monad.
So your entire concept of you just gets erased. I can see why the ego hates that. But for you listening right now, why should you care about this somewhat chilling concept?
It does sound a bit bleak at first glance.
It does. But, think about the immense pressure of maintaining your identity every single day, realizing that your intense individuality and all your daily anxieties might just be a fleeting, tiny dream. It can actually relieve a massive amount of pressure.
It really does give you permission to let things go.
Exactly. The universe doesn't care about your embarrassing moments or your ego-driven stress.
Which leaves us with a really provocative final thought to ponder.
Lay it on us.
Well, if modern process philosophy is right, and the universe is literally embodied in each individual entity, then consider this. Are your attempts to understand the universe right now actually just the monad trying to remember itself? Are you, in this very moment, simply the source code, finally reading its own programming?